week's review of Warhammer Conquest. This week I'll be reviewing issue 40. I'm trying to remember back, I believe there are going to be 82 issues. If it's 80 issues, then we're at the halfway mark. I'm hoping I'll be able to continue to get this. It is a part build, and as anyone who's ever tried to collect part builds as a kid knows, they become harder to get as they go on. But this issue looks great. We've got some cool stuff in here. We've got some great stuff on the front, and we've got 3 paints. So I'm going to open this issue. Got the same plastic as last week. A slight difference from the previous plastics, where the previous plastics were kind of flexible. This sleeve's got little holes in it. I don't know, maybe just to allow the Space Marine to breathe. Who knows? Right. Let's look at the freebies, as we always do. We've got Storm Host Silver, which is a very nice kind of light grey, almost mithril silver, if you remember that old colour. It's a light grey silver, so that's cool. We have got Liberator Gold, which is a very beautiful, rich gold. I'm just going to open that up and show you the inside. Right. Oh, this one's not very separated. This one's actually a new one. But if you look inside, you can kind of see there's a redness to it. There you go. You can see it's this very nice kind of a flat burnished gold. It's one of the better golds they've done. There are kind of richer, deeper golds there, but this one's a great one for dry brushing. If you've got yourself a nice deep gold, like a greedy gold or something like that, this one is a great one to dry brush over. It's one of the best things. You know, I don't play Age of Sigmar myself, and the Storm Hosts, they're cool, they just don't capture me. But I think, you know, some of the best stuff to come out of Age of Sigmar is, because they wanted all that gold armor, GW spent a lot of time making some really nice gold paints and gold layers to dry brush up and highlight with. So that is really cool for highlighting, as is that nice light silver. Then finally we have Wild Rider Red. You can see it's a very orange looking red, a very bright red. It's bordering on orange, but again, that's a very sort of flamey, very bright red. Again, great for dry brushing, great for highlighting. It will give you a kind of an oranger look, which if you're not careful can flatten out some of the deeper reds. But if you get that, it takes some deep red washes, like some Cambro Crimson. It takes those very well, and those can really sort of give you more contrast, so that this appears slightly lighter and the darker reds appear slightly darker. So that's a really good paint. And like I say, with any of the lighter paints, they can be a little flatter looking because they're brighter. But if you combine those with the washes, you get they enable you to get a really good feeling of depth in there. It's going to be interesting to see how they work with GW's new contrast paints. Right, in this issue we've got, according to the cover, Marneus Calgar, painting with layer paints and new warlord traits. I'm excited to see your new warlord traits. If anybody's wondering who Marneus Calgar is the chapter master of the Ultramarine chapters. So up until the return of Robert Gilliman, he was the big boss. He was the man in charge. He was basically the big hero of the Imperium's big heroes. The Ultramarine chapter being the chapter the Imperium most relied on, because it was frankly the biggest. It had its own mini empire effectively. The Ultramar sector was one of the safest sectors in the Imperium, so he was really one of the most preeminent military leaders in the Imperium right up until Gilliman's return. And Gilliman's return hasn't actually lessened his position. Gilliman's been basically organising the entire empire, meaning the Ultramarines are still very much being run on a day-to-day basis by Marneus Calgar, although obviously Gilliman is the commander and is over him. Obviously Ian, our spiritual liege, and his wonderful signature on the front. We've got an older picture of Marneus Calgar. I do like the older GW images, but a lot of the time they don't quite mesh. They look great, but then you look at some of the arms and some of the heads, and some of the proportions aren't quite with it. For example, with the size of his head there, it doesn't. His body, to be in scale, his body wouldn't be big enough to reach the bottom of that, and his arms will be a bit weird. A lot of the newer artwork is a lot better. It's a lot more to scale, and it doesn't have these kind of oddnesses that make you look and go, but still, fantastic piece of artwork. Looks really good. You can see you've got his guard there, and the gauntlets of Ultramar, which basically, like most hipsters, he was wearing gauntlet. He was wearing power fists with bolter strapped on the back before it was cool. Before him, not many people had power fists with bolter strapped on the back. After him, it became a much more common thing in the model range. So that's pretty cool. He's also one of the first fully functional old school Marines to be transformed into a Primaris Marine. Rubicon Primaris, it explains here. It shows you the gauntlets of Ultramar and how they were cool. And then it tells you that Calgar was the first to undergo the surgery that could turn a normal Space Marine into a Primaris Space Marine. He died during that process, but after a few agonising minutes was revived. So he's supposed to be a very strong, very potent, very hard to kill Space Marine. So that's probably why we're not going to see a quick wholesale transformation in the lore, because you'd lose a lot of them. I expect in the lore what's going to happen is, as the old school Space Marines gradually die out, they won't be replenished with old school Space Marines, but will rather be replenished with Primaris Space Marines. Obviously, a lot of people are umming and ahhing and picky about this. I'm collecting a purely Primaris army because I think they look so much better. I think the models are just, they're more action-packed in so many ways. They look better. They look like they're moving better. Their proportions look better to me, and so many other things. But I did play the On Marines for years. It will be sad to see them go. However, as I've said in other videos, when you looked at some of the other stuff that model companies were bringing out, GW couldn't afford to just increase how cool their Marines looked in increments. They had to take a big step and say, no, we're bringing out something more awesome and more cool to combat the fact that our rivals are getting as cool as we are. So they brought out a lot of that cool stuff. So yes, he's been transformed into Primaris. That doesn't necessarily mean that all the Space Marines were. The Imperium Nihilus. Marnius Calgar retained his position as chapter master, and his newly forged Primaris body has given him new life. His most recent mission has seen him lead the Ultramarines deep into the deadly Imperium Nihilus. So that's pretty cool. That kind of makes sense, because if Robute Guilliman is running the Imperium and is at the same time the de facto leader of the Ultramarines, having the next best awesome dude be the other side in the Imperium Nihilus, being the de facto leader of them there, where neither can communicate, means that you're using your resources quite well, and he's still going to be the leader and not really answering to anybody, which I imagine he's used to. Following that, we've got Demon Princes. Cool picture of Demon Prince there. Kind of looks like the Goblin King from The Hobbit. This explains what they are, what their positions are, their weapons and psychic powers, and what the demons of Nurgles are like. Lumbering abominations are almost completely invulnerable. They're swollen with power, and their corroded armour has been burst open by bulging, rotting flesh. Pain and weakness are long forgotten, and even the most powerful weapons struggle to harm them. So basically, badasses. It's got some more pictures there showing you some Nurgle Demon Princes, and then showing you a bunch of more generic Demon Princes. You've got the Ascended Heretic Astartes, who ascended to demonhood there, and you've got the more sort of generic adaptable Demon Princes there, and then Khorne. The favoured demonhood is not limited to Heretic Astartes. Any mortal who pleases a god may ascend. Yeah, there are generic Demon Prince models. How you adapt them is up to you. A lot of people mix them with the specific Demon Princes. I had one where I bought a Lord of Change and Demon Prince, and I just stuck the massively bird-like wings on the back of the Demon Prince and used Lord of Change bits to really make him look cool. It's expensive, but the end result is usually worth it. Okay, we're going on to highlights here. They're going to be teaching you how to do highlights. You previously applied your gold, and you're going to be using your Liberator gold to give much more of a three-dimensional look to that, to highlight the raised parts. And again, you're applying your Stormhost silver around the edge of the bow there, and you're using your Wild Rider red to really raise up the edges of the cape there. So yeah, that's another level of detail added there. And it's going through the various marines and showing you the various highlights you can add and how you can do those. And it's showing you on the Marine Captain model we got last week. But obviously all this stuff's applicable to all the models we have with the various colours, and it's showing the pictures of the finished models with the Wild Rider red added. Yeah, you can see it's starting off there, and it's showing you how it looks with the Liberated gold added, how it looks with the Stormhost silver added, and how it looks with the Wild Rider red. So this stuff's cool. And it really helps stuff look cool. And there's another page over there. If you're finding that you're not getting, if you're finding that you're not necessarily getting the colours you want for your specific chapter, if you're not doing Ultramarines, you can totally go and get a bunch of layer paints from GW, or Army Painter do good layer paints, or Vallejo do good layer paints, 3P3 do good layer paints. There's lots of companies out there that do really good paints. That really look great. GWs are probably amongst the best. Hey, next we've got the Warlord traits, the Angel of Death, the Imperium Sword, Iron Resolve, Storm of Fire, Rights of War, and Champion of Humanity. It's another layer of things to add to your game. The Warlord traits improve your leaders. The fact that you can take Warlord traits are in the cost of the leaders anyway, so these don't cost anything. And if you've been finding that the leaders wanted a little more pop, that's because these weren't yet part of the rule set that you've been playing with. If you've just been playing with the Conquest rule set. No, Maxie. Maxie, I'm recording a video. You need to be hushy. Anyway, as I was saying, these add another layer of coolness and improve the effectiveness of your warlords. For example, let's read the first one. The warlord personifies the fury of the Emperor's wrath. Heretic, traitors, and Xenos quail in fear in his presence as they feel the vengeance of the Imperium fall upon them, which is cool. But the actual rule is subtract 1 from the leadership characteristic of enemy units that are within 6 inches of your warlord. So if you're killing them and doing other things and reducing their leadership with the standard stuff, another subtract 1 means they're far more likely to break and far more likely to lose more guys, and it just increases how cool you are and how much you win by the next one. I'm not going to go through all the rules, but let's go for Iron Resolve. Filled with the righteous fury of the depths of Stratus, the warlord shrugs off even mortal wounds, his faith and fury driving him on long after lesser warlords would have fallen. Add 1 to the wound characteristics of your warlord. In addition, roll a dice each time your warlord loses a wound. On a roll of 6, your warlord shrugs off the wound and does not lose the wound. That's in addition to your armor save. So you get your standard armor save, and if he loses a wound, you roll a 6, and if you roll a d6, and if you get a 6, there's only 1 in 6 chance he completely ignores the wound. So it's not game changing, but it's still cool. And again, it gets 1 wound, so it's not game changing, but it's still cool. You got the Space Marine Warlord traits and how they work, some explanations and some stuff there. Then we go on to the Death Guard Warlord traits. So I'm only going to read one of these. Living Plague, number 2. Saturated as he is with Nurgle's contagious blessing, merely to stand before this warlord is to be assailed by an oppressive aura of plague. Roll a dice for each enemy unit that is within 3 of your warlord at the start of any fight phase. On a roll of 4+, that unit suffers a mortal wound. So again, it's not game breaking, but add it to how cool your warlords and how effective your warlords already are, and it all stacks up just to give them that little bit more pop. And again, you've got some explanations there on how to run the warlord, the Death Guard warlord traits. Mission this week is Stormed Walls, which is pretty cool. It's got bits about Palace Siege. It's got some bits still using the old battle mat. We haven't started using the new battle mat yet, so that's pretty cool. The rules for that, the armies, the deployment, the victory conditions, so that's all really cool. We've only started using some of the victory conditions really recently. In there you can see you've got another piece of paper scenery, which is here on the back page, which again is really cool. So that's gonna add stuff to you. As I say, if you get a chance, pop down your local shop, either if you can get it your local stationers, if you can get it laminated, or sometimes hardware shops do this adhesive plastic that you can stick over the top, because these are cool, and if you can keep them protected, they'll last that much longer, and they'll give you the ability to keep playing. We can see next week we're going to have the Battle for Klaxon. That's going to be pretty cool. that's got some cool stuff in. Okay, we're on to the last page. Nothing fantastic new that we didn't find out last week, but it's just confirming that for the next 2 weeks we're going to be getting the Plague Burst Crawler, which is, it's not the first tank because you've got that little vehicle and it's not a massive tank, but it is the first sort of non-troop crawler, non-troop carrier. Yeah, sort of a dedicated weapon tank as opposed to kind of that support thing which we got earlier, which kind of usually comes in 3, but when we got it only came in 1. So it's kind of the first tank proper we're getting, but that's going to be cool. That's going to be amazing. Obviously not next week, but the week after we're going to get that, and we're going to have that up to be won as a prize. So tune in, and you'll get the option to win it as a prize. And yeah, this cool little tank could be yours. Okay, I hope you guys enjoyed that. I'll see you guys next week for next week's issue, which is issue 41, which includes the Plague Burst Crawler, as we've already discussed. Oh, Discover the Space Walls. So that would be cool. My favourite chapter being discussed there. Yes, I'm a filthy Space Wolf player, if you couldn't tell by the facial hair. And then using your new playmat. Obviously, we're running through the playmat we got in last week's issue or the issue before. The playmat we got a couple of weeks back. Okay, hope you guys enjoyed that, and I'll see you next week. Hi guys, hope you enjoyed that video, and if you did, remember to like and subscribe to my channel. I'm also on Facebook and Twitter. Not sure why, but I am. So if you like it, see me there, and please tell your friends. Thanks very much. Bye.